Okay, what you're going to learn in this tutorial is how to make a side-scroller AI that's able to adapt to its environment. So I'm going to click the preview button. You're going to learn how to make a forward sensor as well as a down sensor. When the forward sensor detects something in front of it, the AI will jump. When the down sensor doesn't detect something underneath of it, that will make the opponent character jump. If there's spaces in the ground, the opponent AI will know how to jump over those spaces, as you can see here. So some pretty cool stuff. Okay, once you have your programming set up, you'll also learn how to hide your forward sensor as well as your down sensor so that it looks like your opponent AI knows how to adapt by itself to the environment that it's interacting with. Hi, this is Ali Arango of Game Visuals as well as LittleGuyCGI.com. Today I want to show you how to make what I call a form of side-scroller adaptive AI in Gdevelop 5. So let's get started. Okay, what you see in front of you is pretty much the results of a tutorial that I did before called Sidescroller Enemy AI. I'll put a link up where you can get to that tutorial, and basically that tutorial will bring you to this point that you see right here. What we have is an opponent character here. We have a ground. We also have two sprites here. One sprite that is called Go Right, which you can see here, as well as here. There's another sprite that's called Go Left, which is here. And basically what's going on is our opponent AI walks to this sprite, and when the opponent gets to this sprite, the opponent turns back and walks until it gets to this sprite. Basically walks back and forth. What I'm going to show you today is basically how to have the opponent react to the environment around them. So you actually can change the environment and the opponent will kind of automatically react to the environment. And it's actually not that hard to set up. So looking forward to showing you this. Okay, the first thing we need to do as far as setting this up is we need a forward sensor. So what we're going to do is go to this plus button to the right. We're going to left click here. We're then going to go to sprite. We're going to name this sprite FS, which stands for forward sensor. We're then going to click this plus button to the right. We're then going to go to edit with Piskel. Piskel is the built-in graphic editor in Gdevelop. We're going to go to this color here. I'm going to left click here. I'm going to go to green. So I left clicked and dragged slightly in green. I'm going to left click and drag in this green here. And now after choosing the color, I'm going to go into the upper right. I'm going to go to width. And for the width, I'm going to put in 100 for 100 pixels. And then for the height, I'm going to put in 10 for 10 pixels. I'm then going to go down to this resize and then left click it, left click the resize. And now you can see this right here. I'm going to go to this paint bucket, left click there, and then left click here. And I'm going to go to this where we see new object. I'm going to name this FS. This doesn't have to be done, by the way. When I say this, I'm talking about renaming this what the picture is going to be called. I'm choosing to do it. I'm then going to click save. And then with this set up how it is, that's fine. So then I'm going to click apply. Okay, now we need to set up our down sensor. So we're going to click plus. We're going to go to sprite. We're going to name this DS, which stands for down sensor. We're going to go to this plus to the right. We're going to left click there. And then we're going to go to edit with Piskel. We're going to left click here. I'm going to go to our color near the bottom, our color selector, go towards this yellow, left click and drag. Then I'm going to left click and drag where it's a little darker. I want this to be like a brownish color. Okay, so with that done, I'm going to go to the width here. I'm going to change this to 10. And then for the height, I'm going to change this to 100. So we have the width being 10 pixels as well as the height being 100 pixels. We're then going to go to resize, left click. Now we see this right here. I'm going to go to the paint bucket, left click on the paint bucket, left click right here. I'm going to go to this new object again. This doesn't have to be renamed, but I'm going to choose DS. Actually, I want this to look more brown than it is. There we go. I'm going to click on the paint bucket again, click here. So now I'm going to click save, and then this is fine how this is as far as how everything is set up. I'm then going to click apply. Okay, so before I do anything more with our forward sensor as well as our down sensor, let me click the preview button so you can see what's going on with what we have right here. So this is the work that I had mentioned to you before about the previous tutorial that I'll have a link up where you can get to it. So basically the two boxes that you see, which are go left as well as go right, are set up so that they're invisible whenever our opponent character runs into or collides with one of the boxes. The opponent character changes direction and just keeps going back and forth. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go up to near the top where we see new scene events. We're going to left click there. What you see here already, this is the code that's making the character walk back and forth. This is also what I showed you how to do in the previous tutorial that I had mentioned before. So now we're going to add programming that's going to set up our adaptive side-scroller AI. I think that what I'm calling it is an accurate description. It makes it sound like you have to do more than what you have to do, but I do think it's accurate. Anyway, we're going to click here, and when I say click here, we're clicking near the bottom of this event right here. In Gdevelop, you have events, and those events are made up of conditions as well as actions. The condition is to the left, the action is to the right. The condition basically says when something happens, when something happens, and then the action says what to do when that condition is met. Okay, so with this event clicked on, so you can see this blue highlighting this event, you're going to go to this button to the upper right, and this is an add new empty event button. I'm going to left click that, so now we have this new empty event added here. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to make it so that our forward sensor moves along with our opponent character. So we're going to go to add action. We're then going to go to common actions, action for all objects. We're then going to go down to position, and then we're going to select put an object around another. We're going to left click here. We're then going to choose our FS, which stands for forward sensor, left click there. And then we have this center object. We're going to left click here, and then we're going to select opponent. So this forward sensor, or FS, is going to be put around our opponent character, and that's going to make the FS, our forward sensor, move with our opponent character. The rest of the settings we can leave as they are. We're then going to click OK. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to left click, so we have this blue going around this entire event. We're then going to go up to this add a new event button. We're going to left click there. We're then, with this blue highlighted around this whole event, actually in this case we don't need it highlighted around the whole event. We could have just this selected here, which would be fine. So either or, whether this here we have the blue outline going around the whole thing, or here, it's fine. For now, I'm just going to click right here. I'm going to right click, select copy. I'm going to go to where we see add action. I'm going to right click right on that add action and then select paste. And now we have this action pasted to right here. Okay, the reason why we did that was just for the sake of time, because now we can go just click right on this FS, and now we can just go down to DS and then left click there, and now we have this set up the way this needs to be. Okay, so now we're going to go up to the top of our screen. We'll click on New Scene. I'm going to left click on FS and then left click and drag. We're going to pull that out. I'm going to left click on DS. Now left click, hold, and drag to pull this out. We can just put them on the screen. So now when I click this preview button, we can see that our forward sensor as well as our down sensor is moving right along with our opponent character. Okay, so now that we have that, we're going to click back on New Scene Events. We're going to click near the bottom. So I click so I have this whole event highlighted. You can see the blue line here as well as here. And with that done, I'm going to go up to our Add New Event button. I'm going to click once, then click again. So we have two new events here. And then what we want to do here is we want to set up a collision for our forward sensor. So we're going to click Add Condition. We're going to go to Common Conditions for all objects. We're going to go to Collision. We're then going to select Collision again. And what I'm going to do now is select FS for our forward sensor. Then I'm going to left click on Object. And then I'm going to select ground is what we want. And the rest of our settings are fine. So we'll click OK. So we basically said when our FS forward sensor, that's what FS stands for, is forward sensor, is in collision with the ground, we want something to happen. So now we're going to set up what we want to happen. So we're going to click Add Action. We're going to go down to Platform Behavior. We're going to left click once. Now we see these other options. We're going to go to Controls. And then we see this Simulate Jump Key Press. We're going to left click here. And what we want to do is simulate that for our opponent character. So we're going to left click here. And then after doing that, we're going to left click on OK. Okay, with that done, and with this highlighted, this whole event highlighted, what we want to do is right click and then select copy. So we select and copy this this whole event. We're going to left click first here. So we have this blue highlight going around our action as well as our condition as well as our action. I'm going to right click and then select paste. So we just copied this condition as well as this action to here. And we did this again to save time. So what we want to do is we want to double click here for this object for collision. I'm going to backspace. I'm going to change this to DS. And then we want the object to be ground. However, see this invert, this condition here where it says invert. So basically what is normally happening is saying that when the object comes in collision with the other object, in this case the DS object, our down sensor comes in collision with our ground object, do something. We want to do the opposite. When our down sensor isn't in collision with the ground, we want something to happen. And the way we're going to have that set up so that something happens when the down sensor isn't in collision with the ground is by left clicking on this invert condition button. We're then going to click OK. Okay, so that is, for the most part, what we need as far as having our opponent having the necessary program to adapt to the environment. We want to make our environment so we can be, we want to set things up so we can track our opponent character as it worked its way through the environment. So to do that, we're going to click Add Action. We're then going to go to Layers and Cameras. I'm going to scroll down, And then I'm going to select center on the center of the camera on an object. I'm going to left click there. And then I'm going to select opponent. And the rest of these settings are fine. I'm then going to click OK. Okay, in Gdevelop, a condition says when something happens, and then the action says what to do when something happens. So because we have no condition here, basically we're telling Gdevelop to do is to do this constantly. So to constantly center on our opponent character, and that's what we want. So the reason why we went through all of this is what we want to be able to do is I'm going to zoom back. I'm going to left click on our ground here. I'm going to now right click, select copy. And then I'm going to right click and select paste. So by me clicking this, copying it, and then pasting this, I get the same size as this object here. So what I'm going to do is move this down here like this. I'm holding the middle mouse button to pan. And now I'm going to right click and select paste again. So now I have this here. I'm going to click this, move this up some. For here, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make this shorter like this here. I'm then going to right click, select paste here. Roll the mouse wheel to zoom back more. I'm going to right click and then select paste here to put another ground instance right here. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click this go right sprite. I'm going to move this all the way over here. What should happen is our opponent character, when the forward center touches this ground, should make our opponent character jump. When the opponent character comes to here and sees this space here, well, I should say the down center on the opponent character gets to here, the opponent character should jump over here. It should go to this go right sprite, go back, see this space, the down center should see this, jump over here, the forward center should touch here, make this jump up here, and then the character should just repeat. Okay, when I say repeat, I mean the character should repeat its actions as it goes through along its course. So let's click the preview button. Okay, everything is good so far. Excellent. Okay, so let's change things up and see if our character adapts. So we'll left click here, right click, select copy, paste. Have a space here. Let's select paste, space here, paste. Let's move this over some like this. Paste. Let's see how our character does with these minor changes here. Okay, so what we're going to do is click our preview button. And I can see there's going to be an issue here. We need the character to be able to, so let's copy, paste. Paste. Let's see how this goes. Oh, look at that, the character made it through. Excellent. Okay, what we want to do now is make it so you can't see our forward sensor as well as our down sensor. So I'm going to click on New Scene and Events. See where we have these hide the object, go left, hide the object, go right. What we're going to do is left click so that this hide the object go left is selected. We're going to right click, select copy. We're going to hover right over this add action. We're going to right click and then select paste. We're then going to do the same thing. When I say the same thing, I mean hover over add action, then right click and select paste. And the reason why we did that was just, again, for time's sake. Like before, the copy and paste and just speeds up things as far as programming, as far as time. So what we're going to do is double click here. We're going to backspace over to go left, and then we can see our FS, which stands for our forward sensor. So we'll left click there. We'll then click OK. We'll go to this action right here, double click, backspace. We'll then scroll down, then select DS, which is stands for our downward sensor. We'll click OK. Okay, so with that done now, let's click the preview button. And now you can see that the forward sensor as well as the down sensor are now hidden. Okay, one other thing that we can do that's pretty cool is we can click on New Scene. We can go to Ground, double click on Ground, go to Behaviors, and right now we have a platform behavior on ground. We can click this plus button to the right, and then we can go to Draggable Object for a new behavior to be added. So we'll left click here, and now you can see we have this behavior draggable added to our ground sprite. So now we'll click Apply. Okay, and what that allows us to do is if I hold the middle mouse button here, if I left click here, right click, select copy, right click, select paste. I'm actually going to make this smaller. Make this smaller, and I'll put these next to here. I'll right click, then select paste. I'll left click here, right click, copy, then right click, paste. So now we have these 4 new pieces of ground here, and we added a draggable behavior to this ground. Okay, so what that means is when we click the preview button, let me go out and make this in view. So as our opponent character goes along, we can grab things like this and like this and actually move things. So in a way you can almost make your own, game in a game. It's kind of fun to move these things around. Okay, so I'm going to click to come out of that preview. Okay, so I'm going to just arrange these new pieces some. Okay, this should work except for right here. So I'm going to left click, right click, copy, right click, paste. I'll put this here like this. Let's see how our player character handles this. Not our player character, our opponent character handles this. Okay. Okay, so now you know how to make an opponent that has its AI adapt to the environment in a side scroller. Okay guys, that's it for the tutorial. For all of those of you out there who like the videos on this channel, we share them. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And for those of you who are new to this channel, if you like the videos on this channel, you would like to see more, please subscribe, and thank you for viewing.